Welcome to Chapter 9 of the high-level course for WhatsApp with me, Chris Dillon. This chapter, we're going to cover flows and how flows work in WhatsApp. Flows can be really effective. They're an incredibly good, powerful way of getting somebody to book their appointment within their WhatsApp chat without ever needing to leave or go to an external link. So, to make sure that this bit works effectively, you do need to have the calendar section of your system sorted, so some sort of appointment in there created and set up. And then we can use that appointment in the WhatsApp chat to give them live availability in conversation. Once you have your calendar bit set up, you head back into the settings in WhatsApp. This is where you will see the number that we've spoken about originally. You've also got the template messages where you would have created those. And we're going to go into flows. We're going to go to create new flow. Now, for the time being, payment functionality and recurring events are not available in here to be able to do at the time of recording. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick a calendar. So we're going to go, this is a test so that we know it's the test for this course. I'm going to select a calendar, and for us, it's going to be the automation discovery session. That is our sales call. We click next. It's then going to take us to edit the flow. We can have a look at what that process looks like and what we're putting into the flow to encourage people going through. So what fields are we collecting? This is essentially the form that you would have as part of the calendar. These are grayed out because these are the fields that I've agreed to collect in the calendar settings. If you were using a slightly different form, there would be different ones in here. You can preview the test flow. So what happens is when somebody presses the button that starts a flow, which if you remember back to template messages is one of the button options, or if you remember back into the workflows, you can trigger a flow to start when somebody sends you a specific word. Again, that automation from the last chapter can only happen in an open conversation, but either way you can start this flow. You can also start it manually when somebody is in a conversation with you and you go into their file. There is a button option when you're replying to them through the system, which can start the flow manually as well. So the 3 ways you can initiate a flow. This will show you the fields and it will show you what it's going to look like. We click into next. We can add a message template here where we can say, right, add your header, put the body of the text, put the footer, put the appointment text that you want to go here, and you publish this flow. And when that flow has been created, it will look something like this. I'm going to go into preview to show you what this looks like. So they go through. Let's say they would select a date as they're going through. This is only a preview, so it probably won't function the way that we want it to. They select a time, and there'll be a list of times here that are based on your appointment availability. So the availability that you have live will go in there. They put their name, their details, any additional information, tick that and book now. So without leaving WhatsApp, they are booking an appointment in your high-level system. They never need to leave the platform. On their side, it's a smooth experience. It's really easy for them to facilitate going through that process. And on our side, we can then use the fact that they booked the appointment to trigger confirmation because they're booking an appointment in the system. So we can just use an appointment node to be able to do that. We can have the different appointment ones that are there, the booking summary. So this at the end, it will summarize their booking in these details, but we can also obviously then send them a more detailed video confirmation, whatever we want it to look like. And it'll look slightly different on Android and iOS. So you can sort of see it'll look slightly different across them. People that have the dark theme turned on, you can see the differences. This is a preview of what that flow looks like when you have it set up. And you can go in here, depreciate the flow. You should be able to delete it eventually and edit the flow if it's live and you've got it up and running. As I mentioned, you can go and trigger the flow through buttons in template messages. So if I go into a template message to go and create it, you go to add button. Flow is one of them down here. When you do have flow as a button, you can't add any other buttons. It's the only one you can put in the message. And then you just go down here and select the flow that you want it to have. You can obviously put the button text there, but it's the only button that's there. So that's one way that you can do it. If you go into automation, and we'll just go into a workflow very quickly. The other way to do it is when any trigger happens. So if they've pressed a button, it can be any trigger to trigger this, but remember it will only happen when it is in an open conversation. So ideally, it would be a customer reply trigger, as you learned in the last chapter. So you've got send flows, and again, this is fairly straightforward. You select the flow, and it'll have the timeout for the flow. So this is how long that flow will be able to be there when they press the button. You can put the messages, etc., etc. And if you go back to contacts, when you go back into contacts, you can come in here, and if somebody has sent you a message and their WhatsApp is live, you'll notice, different to what we showed in one of the other course sections where you saw a button that said send a template message. I've sent myself this message, so my conversation is open. And you'll notice that I could go in here and say, this is the response. You can also have the AI, which will suggest responses for you. You can just select those and send them. And at the bottom, you've got the ability to insert snippets, attach files, insert emojis. Here is where I can select send the flow, and I can manually trigger the sales appointment flow to go through to them. So this is where I can add the flow at this stage. As I've mentioned, it can only happen with open conversations. Those are the three ways you can trigger flows. They can be really effective when they're done very well in the system. And again, it's about making it an easy experience for the prospect, customer, client to go through so that they have less friction, more people get from one step to another.